I get to be the first of the lightning round presenters, and I hope lightning strikes you well in this case. So we'll go ahead and bring up the screen whenever you're ready. And I really appreciate, too, the student panel. It's always really useful to hear the things that they have to say, and I also want to reassure them that many of the things they're talking about are things that we're actively working on, especially in Learning Suite. And so I'm Jeff Fox. I'm actually the product strategist for Learning Suites. I'm one of the associates at the Center for Teaching and Learning as well. So what I was asked to talk about today was a little bit about the sweet spots, and as it comes up here, what I say something a little bit about what the students were talking about. The mobile application is something that we have a high priority on this year, and we want to, as soon as we get kind of all of the web services published, then OIT will be able to be working on that application, and so we should anticipate that that should start coming about pretty soon.
Projector's up, but it's not seeing your computer. So are you feeding the external port?
Try this one more time. Okay,
There you go.
now we're running. All right, and so mobile app is in development, and also that calendar. I have something specifically about that. Now, speaking of student innovation, some students created a video. This was kind of, they made it and ran with it, and it was this Hobbit video you may or may not have seen. So as we talk a little about learning sweet spots, you'll in the spirit of Hobbits, also talk a little bit about the savory parts of Learning Suite. There are some good things in here that people often don't know as much about, and we want to try to highlight a little bit. And I also want to tell you a little bit more about what is coming as we move throughout the year. Now, one of the, I think, most useful tools and things that we focused on first with regard to integrations with other tools is the Turnitin tool. And I just want to actually take you live to this for just a moment and show you why Turnitin is such a useful thing for people. And so let me resize the screen here just a little bit so we can see this better. And what you can do is when you create an assignment in Learning Suite, you can say, I want to make this a Turnitin assignment. And what it does is it performs an originality check on the paper that a student has submitted into Learning Suite. What it does then is it checks it against a very massive database of papers to find out, are there areas where there may be plagiarism happening here? Now, most students are actually quite good at this, but you might run into students who are struggling with the concept of plagiarism. So what it does is it will show you on this right-hand side what some of the major matches are that it sees in a paper, and it has a number up here at the top that tells you what % of the paper is suspect. In other words, all that means is that it has a match in some other component of the database. That doesn't necessarily mean it was plagiarized, however. So what you can do is actually go in and take a look. I can look at the context of this quote. I can see where it was taken from. I can look at the paper, see whether or not the student quoted it, and of course, if they quoted it, put it in their bibliography, that's really not a problem at all with plagiarism. And so I can come in here and turn on some additional filters, like to exclude quotes and exclude things that are that look like the student has managed these things correctly. And you'll see that the number now for the similarity index has decreased quite a bit. But you've got the tools to look at each of these things in context and really look for yourself and see if the student is struggling with something. And that creates a great opportunity to have a conversation with them if they are struggling with some part of plagiarism. Now there's another tool in this suite of tools that we are integrating with, and this one is called GradeMark. And GradeMark is basically an online grading system. And there are a number of things that you can do with this, and I would encourage faculty to try this out, especially if you're doing grading papers. I can come to a paper, and I can, if I want to, just do some textual markup, like I've done in this case right here, how do you define a GMO. I can drag and drop pre-packaged or things that I've saved in the past, comments that I've saved in the past, drop those so that students can see those sorts of things. I also have turned on, for, in this case, these purple things, and what that is it's actually coming from the Educational Testing Services text analysis system where it's looking for grammatical errors. You can turn any of these things on or off. All of them can be given back to the student as part of their feedback on the paper. So there's some great feedback tools here. And just to let you know too, you can also do a voice comment or just one textual comment if you don't want to do all of the individual comments on the paper. There are also rubrics, and as soon as, and right now you can actually do scoring on these, but as soon as we get a new gradebook in place, we'll be able to push that score over into our new gradebook as well. So you've got a lot of robust tools, and you'll see up here at the top though, we had originality, we had GradeMark. What about this PeerMark thing? Well, that's something we're working on this year as well. And so a PeerMark allows students to be able to comment on and grade each other's papers, grade them if you want, with scores, or just give peer review and help to each of the students in their class. So we will try and be working on that one this year, and I think that at that point we'll have this package of tools from Turnitin integrated into Learning Suite, and I think that they can be good productivity tools for faculty members. So let's go back out here for a moment, and just because time is short, I wanted to also talk to you just very briefly about digital dialogue. Now, there's not been a lot of hype around this, but just to let you know what this is all about, digital dialogue was originally designed as a feedback tool. And it was meant to try and speed up the process for faculty members of, instead of typing all of your feedback, that will give you an opportunity to simply push a camera button and you can speak your feedback to people. So what's being shown on the screen right now is just going through the process of creating a new discussion. And there's kind of what I see as two main features of this. And so one is the feedback tool. The other is more of a discussion board, and that's how other people use it within Learning Suite. And so in this case, just the example I'm giving is me putting up a prompt wanting students to talk about some of the pro-democratic and anti-democratic components of the Constitution, talk about those pieces. And in this case, you can choose who you want to include in the conversation. And if you want to do individual one-on-ones with students, there's a little area inside of inside of digital dialogue that'll let you just send out messages to individual students. And if you're going to use it as a feedback tool, of course you want to use it in a private space. And so we'd encourage you to use that area. But it's the same sort of process that you go through, whether you're doing it for an individual or for the entire group of students. And so there's at least those two usages, and we find that actually there's some faculty members who taught their entire class, none of it face-to-face. They did the whole thing using digital dialogue and other kind of online tools. And students, when they evaluated the class afterward, said that they knew the professor better, felt that this professor had their interest at heart, probably more than any other class, because they were getting these one-on-one conversations and messages with faculty that they weren't getting maybe even in a classroom where they themselves might be a little bit more prone to hide. So that's just an idea, something that everyone should explore. Other sweet spots, this notion of having an integrated calendar with university data is something that's not been done in any other main learning management system out there too. So we think that can be a great benefit to faculty members. University policies, you don't have to maintain them, they simply come through. And the integration with the learning outcomes site is also one of those things that we think just makes it easier to pull together all the pieces of a course that a faculty member may make. So we're trying to make some of those things much more efficient. Now, I'm not talking as much about the student side of things, but to the students, as they said it right here, they say all the time, I want this to be my one-stop shop. I want everything I need to be here. But we've provided the tools in Learning Suite for you to do that. If you're using even other learning management systems, we've made ways in Learning Suite that will simply forward the student out to that area. So we invite you to use that so that students really can receive the benefits of having a one-stop shop in Learning Suite. Now, I thought I'd also give you an idea of a few of the things that we're working on right now. And one of those things is a new gradebook, and you'll see that this one has a tighter integration. It'll have tighter integration with Learning Suite because right now we're using a third-party product. And also you can see Turnitin will be able to nicely tie in here as well. So there'll be a whole host of new things we'll be able to do once we get a gradebook that we can truly control. There is also a new version of digital dialogue coming out, actually a more robust version of the one that we're currently running in the Learning Suite. And so that's something also to watch out for in the coming year. I showed you some of the Turnitin graders, but there's other things in Learning Suite that you may want to grade. And for example, one of those things might be a digital dialogue. Maybe you want to look and see what all of the students contributed to a discussion and then assign them a grade. So the grader that we're going to build when the gradebook is ready is going to be able to bring in any type of accessible object inside of Learning Suite to assign grades. There's some pieces of exams that are still being built out. One of those is the exam question bank, so that you can just reach out and grab a few questions from all of those that you've previously offered. So that should be, all of these things that I'm talking about, we're hoping to be available this year. Also an integration with ExamStat. ExamStat runs in the testing center, but it gives statistics on the performance of questions, and we can see how a question is performing, and students are performing on those questions. Just another thing, just some usability issues. We're always working on things like that. There's a lot of things that we can do. And in this case is just an enhanced exam preview, so that you can see all of the settings in an exam without having to go in and click on edit to see those things. One other thing, rubrics will be applied to everything inside of Learning Suite as well, so that will become available. And I mentioned learning outcomes before. Learning outcomes, just having those available for students is a benefit in and of itself, but we're starting to move forward where you can actually tie these things to any individual assessment inside of Learning Suite itself. So when you, and what we'll try and provide for you is a roll-up report of how the students are doing on every learning outcome. And as long as you make those ties to the assessments, we'll be able to create that roll-up report. What the students were talking about was this aggregate schedule. Here's a possible mock-up of that. We're maybe fine-tuning it just a little bit, though. But it shows all of their classes in a combined aggregate schedule, also with an ability to mark things off as complete, and hence I don't really want to worry about these anymore. So we're moving in that direction, and that should also become available this year. Now, there's lots of things we could talk about, but my 8 minutes are up. Hopefully, there's a few sweet and savory pieces in there. If you have any questions about anything I've mentioned, just feel free to call us at the Center for Teaching and Learning. So thank you for your time.